we felt that the way that technology was changing, there were more creators, more talent, more fame in the world than ever before. But the problem was the underlying business model that supports whether it's professional football players where 85% of them go broke 5 years after playing their last game, and only 1% of athletes get 99% of all the endorsement revenues. In music for Spotify, the top 1% of streamers make over 90% of all the streaming revenue. And when you're talking about touring or merch, it's even more power law distributed than sports. On YouTube, the top 3% of creators make 97% of all the ad revenue on the platform.
Wow.
In acting, the Screen Actors Guild at any given time, 99.9% of the Screen Actors Guild is out of work, right? So when something like the strike happens last year, the stats were coming out that over 80% of the guild couldn't afford to get their insurance from SAG because they didn't work, it was something like that to make 25, 26 grand a year to qualify for SAG health insurance. And, they didn't, most of the vast majority of SAG members didn't even get close to qualifying for that. So when we looked around, we felt like there was this huge gap that was happening where there was more fame than ever before. Think about TikTok. Every day there's new people blowing up.
Love TikTok.
Think about all the content that's getting made on the streaming platforms. It used to be that if you weren't in a movie or you weren't on a show on NBC or CBS or ABC, nobody knew about you. But today, you can audition for, scores of shows that are getting produced every single day on Netflix or Amazon Prime or the streaming platforms. Or guess what? If nobody casts you, you can do what our good friend Cody Ko did and just start making content. And if it's good enough, you're going to develop your own following. So this was a huge change in how that worked. But as we saw, there were more creatives than ever kind of playing for you had an exponential amount of growing fame, and you had linearly, or in some cases declining, revenue streams that were supporting everybody else. We knew that there was going to be this larger gap between fame and monetization and the societal problem of people being more famous than rich. Because on the platforms, you're trading distribution for content, but you're not getting paid for it, the vast majority of people. So for us, it was all about how could we find a way for talent to get paid to become more famous? Like, how do you get more beloved every time you make a piece of content and it puts money in your pocket, right? So that's really what we try to do with Cameo and the big problem we've been working on this whole time.
Yeah, I love it. And, we're 4 years old as a business. First 3 years, we really focused on product, and we're really proud of what we built. But this year, we've really focused on distribution, marketing. I didn't even have an Instagram or TikTok going into the year. Now we're doing a podcast with you. Like, I love content and content creation, and like, you're such a big empowerment of the creator economy. And so huge shout out to you. So one interesting aspect of your story there that I love to dig into, and, even dig in with myself as well, is like, you have your LinkedIn network, which is incredible. LinkedIn is one of the best companies to ever exist. Love LinkedIn. You also went to Duke, which is a fantastic school. How have both impacted the way that you think, and then also the way you raise capital, interacted with the tech world? Because I think about my experience, I ended up doing my MBA at UCLA, undergrad at Penn, and I worked at Uber. For me, even though of course I love Penn, UCLA was definitely the most helpful from a overall tactic and timing perspective. But Uber has been the most powerful network I've ever been a part of. And it's interesting to see how schools versus companies can impact your career in different ways.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll start with that same, before my first day at LinkedIn, you go in for a final round interview. And one thing they used to do at the time, I don't know if they still do it, but it's awesome. They would give you as a candidate something called your in-map. And it was a graphical representation of your network.
Really cool, yeah.
So you would see one color, the blue would be like everyone that you're connected with, you went to Duke with. Yeah. And, if you worked at Microsoft, you worked at sales, you would just see these different clusters. Yeah. And then within the clusters, there'd be these nodes of connection, like people that you shared so many common connections with, and they were clearly there. And I have the map from my very first day
so cool.
That I walked into the LinkedIn office when I was interviewing. Like, it's framed, it's in storage somewhere, but it's something like I got to find. It's like one of those things that disappeared during COVID, and I got to find it. I got to put it back on the wall. And I would love, Ryan, or anyone from LinkedIn, if you guys are listening, I would love if we could I'd love to see where my network is now, because that was 8 years ago, and obviously the Cameo journey has changed so much of it. When I talk about Duke, that place could not have been more important or life-changing for me. I think the single most important decision in my life was going there for school. And interestingly, I remember it kind of came down to Duke and USC were like the two schools that I was thinking, and I always believed that kind of like Duke, USC, and Notre Dame for their region are like the same place.
Yeah, they are very similar.
They're excellent academic schools. They've got world-class sports. I was an athlete. Like, that was really important to me, whether I was playing or not.
Agreed.
You
Love
want to
sports.
be around it. Unbelievable alumni network that are super powerful, not just in their immediate geography, but kind of all around. And I love the vibe that I got on all of those campuses. But when I ended up going to Duke, the thing that was so incredible to me was being around like a different level of success than anywhere else.